and welcome to Master Your Life with Kate McKay, a show exclusively dedicated to uncovering the path to excellence through powerful stories of grit and determination. I'm Kate, and so glad you have joined us. So, Bronson Hill, welcome to the show.
Kate, I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about high performance, and you are my favorite high performance person that I know by far.
Oh, you're the best. So Bronson and I'm going to read his bio, but I can't wait to get into this because he is an inspiration, certainly for me. And all of you who are listening are really going to get a lot of benefit from this interview. So Bronson Hill is the founder and CEO of Bronson Equity and has raised over 20 million for real estate investment. He is a general partner in over 150 million worth of real estate around the USA. That's a lot of cash. Bronson is the authority on apartment investing and is continually putting out new content to help educate investors and help them achieve financial freedom. He spent his earlier years as a sales consultant for several large startup medical device companies. And I want to get right into it about your newest product, because this is something I'm so passionate about. And really, it's about opportunity and how opportunity oftentimes presents itself when we don't think there is any, right? I mean, a lot of people are in this darker time, like, the price of gas, food's going up, right? And they're in this protection mode. And I've mentioned that the thesis that I have in regards to the different phases we're moving through. And I believe we're in a time of opportunity and production. Tell us a little bit about this new ebook that you're offering the listeners and other people who would like some more information in regards to this topic.
Yeah, thanks. So a lot of people have been talking today about inflation and how inflation is just like, totally the pain at the pump, the pain at the store. And it's really seen as this enemy, right? This enemy that's coming to attack you and take your wealth. And then for a lot of people, that's the way it's showing up. But like you mentioned, in times of great change, there's also an incredible opportunity to actually use it to your advantage. And so I actually wrote this ebook. It's called How to Use Inflation to Your Advantage. It's like 50 color pages. It's basically my website, bronsonequity.com. People can download it for free. But it's really the perspective of, there's two salesmen that, maybe 200 years ago went to Africa selling shoes, and they had, they saw the same thing. One came back and said, "Oh, this is terrible. There's no opportunity here. No one wears shoes." Right. And then the second guy came back and said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. No one wears shoes." Right. So it's all like how you see it. And do you see threat or do you see opportunity? And I know the Chinese character, if you look at that Chinese character of a threat and opportunity, they're like the same. It's just an adaptation of it. So it's just like, what are you actually seeing in the middle of a crisis or an opportunity? Are you seeing the opportunity that's there?
That's the best. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that story about the shoes, which is priceless. Now, you're generally, just because you've had a background and in finance and investments, a pragmatic person, but you also have this more, expansive thinking. And certainly because you're an athlete, because you're gritty and you have a lot of determination in your life. And he comes across like the super mellow guy, but he is an incredible athlete and very, very successful. So I'm just going to blow your humble pie and ask you to talk a little bit about mastery. What is your definition, Bronson?
Mastery, I think, is really giving your all, really giving your effort, not competing against anybody else, but competing against yourself. And that may look like, we've talked a lot about Strengths Finder. You and I have had a lot of conversations about that and just what that looks like. But the idea is to be the best you possibly can be. And maybe you're not necessarily amazing in world standards, but if you have a passion for it, I mean, the whole strengths-based Strengths Finder, these kind of things they talk about, you have the highest area of possible improvement in areas where you have a lot of passion and areas where you have interest. So you may be terrible at whatever it is, but when you discover a passion, I think those are God-given things. You've got to really steward, you've got to really handle those well. And when you go after them, you start to really feel strong and you get to feel like you come alive. So hopefully, as you get older, you've developed those passions. You've looked at life as just this opportunity to be a high performance person and really say, I'm going to make an impact in the world. And if you can do that, the world is a better place and you are much happier. So the idea of pursuing mastery, I don't think you ever get to the place of perfection, but the goal really is just to continue to do your craft and work better and work harder and work more at it, because you love it and it helps you come alive.
So why is that important, do you think? I mean, what do you want people to know who are listening that's like, well, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, I worked in medical sales or medical consulting for 10 years. I was a top sales. I was making really good money and working in surgery with heart surgeons. And then I retired, or I quit my job. People are like, oh, how's retirement? And I'm like, well, I'm working harder in my retirement than I was before because I have a passion, I have a purpose. And there's this, one of my favorite kind of old Hebrew proverbs is, without vision, people perish. And it's this idea that if I'm just here existing, a lot of people think I'm going to retire early, then I'm going to put my feet up and I'm going to just, relax and just enjoy. And I think there's a place for that. But without a why, without a really strong why about what you're here to do, you will begin to die. You will begin to see there will be no reason for you to be here. And this is super deep, but I think it's really, really important to figure out, no matter what your age is, whether you're 18 years old or you're 85 years old or 100, whatever it is, figuring out what you're here to do. Because if you're here doing what you're here to do, it's going to give you life. It's going to give life to the people around you. And it really does. I mean, that idea of without having vision, we're actually dying. I really believe that, whether it's physically, it's emotionally, and you look at all the depression and other things that are out there that are really stealing kind of people's purpose and stealing why we're here. So that's why I think it's so important for me, and I think for everybody, to keep the vision and keep that passion right in front of you, so you know what you're here doing, what you're here to do. And if you just keep pursuing that, there'll be great fulfillment in that.
So you have a strong spiritual faith. So how does that fuel your why, Bronson?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of people don't know this. Kind of former life, I was actually a youth pastor. So years ago in college, I actually worked with students, and I loved it. But to me, it ties right in. It really ties into, and it doesn't have to be, faith doesn't have to look the same for anybody that it looks for me. But I think just seeing that, hey, when things don't go my way, or if I work really hard and something goes wrong, or I fail at something, everything is learning, everything is growth. And I really believe that God has a plan. God has a plan for stuff when things don't go well. And when I keep that in mind, it allows me to deal with big setbacks or disappointment or difficulties. And so I think, it just ties in with purpose. There's a book by Simon Sinek that says, start with why, right? Start with the why. What is the reason you want to do whatever you want to do? We work with a lot of people with from financial freedom. A lot of people just, I want to live a yachts and Mai Tai lifestyle. Right? I want to be out. I just want to relax. I want to do, well, why? What is the why behind that? Why do you want to do that? Is it for you? I think the stronger why is I want to leave an impact or a legacy for my family, or maybe I want to impact, like for me, a huge why is to try to end human slavery, modern day human slavery in the world. And people don't realize there's 20 to 40 million human slaves today. And so I have a lot of passion around ending that, kind of evil that I see in the world, right? So that's something that really drives me as well. But I think if you don't have a strong why, it's really hard to get yourself psyched up and get motivated.
That's so good. How would you define then grit? Because I guess it's a two-part question, but I assume that you would consider yourself somewhat of a gritty person. And do you think it's something that can be taught?
Yeah. So grit, I just did a Spartan race this weekend with my siblings, which was fun. And, have some of the videos and pictures of us getting in the mud and stuff. It was fun. But when I train competitively for that, it does require a lot of grit. It requires a lot of just, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it because I have the goal in mind. So I think, grit is an interesting thing. Angela Duckworth's book is awesome.
Love.
And I think it's really she defines it as that's really what makes you successful. That when you face a setback, when you face something challenging, does it get you more motivated, or do you get discouraged and walk away? And I think and nobody's that strong on their own. I think you have to get around people that can encourage you. I mean, Jim Rohn, he says this: you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So when I hang out with you, Kate, like I'm so fired up after talking with you, and I get so encouraged that I'm like, man, I should hang out with Kate more often. So on this show, I love that you're always just so passionate and so positive, and having people around you that can help you and encourage you, and that are also going after their goals, versus the person who's going to discourage you in your goals or say, well, you should switch, you should stop, you should do this. And most of the world, we talked about this before we started, there are people, most of the people just think we're crazy because they just kind of don't really have goals, and they just kind of go through life. But if you're a high performance person, you got to get people around you that are at the next level. You got to get people that are going to come in and are going to fuel the fire and not try to throw water on it. And so I become aware of the people that try to put out the fire, try to extinguish, versus the people that like start pouring gas on the fire and get me more fired up. I need those people. So.
So who was your mentor? First of all, I just want to say how amazing that your siblings, that you guys get in the mud together. That's absolutely amazing. And I'm kind of jealous because I don't have that relationship with my siblings. As I was mentioning earlier, it's like I'm an anomaly. I don't even know where I came from in my life. I'm always like dropped into situations where I don't really feel like I belong. Well, historically, that I have, that I've had to create new parameters around my success, and then understanding that community is actually something I need to build. So, but who are your mentors? I mean, I love it that you have the strong family relationship, but did you have someone that really believed in you, Bronson?
Yeah, I think the first person that really believed in me before I believed in myself, I had a youth pastor when I was young. I was 16, 17, and I, was there's just some decisions when you're in high school and you're like, what route do I want to go? And I kind of was starting to get to be a party guy. And then I realized like, oh, okay, this is really the direction that I want to go. And just when someone, believed in me and said, I see you doing these great things. And I see you being a leader and I see you in this way. It was absolutely transformative for me. So that was huge. There's been many other mentors. I mean, I've had this conversation with, there's some younger guys called the Donis brothers, and they're like in their 20s and they're killing it in real estate. But they are, they were asking, what does a mentor look like? Or what's your ideal mentor? Or who's your mentor? And I was like, I have a mentor for different things. In some ways you've mentored me with high performance. I've had, friends that have helped me with, real estate or with tech stuff. I've had people help me in other areas or in fitness. And so, I have mentors from all different things. And another mentor we really don't talk a lot about are books. I mean, I try to read, at least 60 books a year. And like, those are mentors that just can teach me all kinds of things. So I try to pull from all sorts of different things. But I do have friends and mentors that I call. If I have a problem in this area of my life, I will call this mentor. Or if I have a problem in business, I will call this mentor.
Looking for a motivational and inspirational speaker to host your next event? Reach out to me at kate-mckay.com.
And so, I think those relationships are incredibly powerful.
And have you always been courageous to say, I don't know something? Because that's a lot of what prevents people from asking, is admitting that maybe they don't know. So what would you say to the viewers and listeners in regards to that?
Yeah, I think, it can be challenging, especially for guys, to ask for help, especially for men. I think anybody, can, but I think especially men. And I think what you have to look at is that, there's really nothing new that's out there. There's nothing that hasn't been done before. Everything we're experiencing now in the world and politics and all kinds of, all this stuff's happened in business. It's all happened before. So if I can just, especially there's like a mentor that's a few steps ahead. And I don't like call someone on like just a little thing. I'll call maybe a peer mentor, right? Who's a friend of mine who does what I do, who works in real estate, who helps, work with investors. Hey, what would you do in this situation? Or how are you handling this? And let's ask questions because, and I think it's great, and we do the same. They'll ask me questions. And so I think it's, if you get to a place where you're collaborative, I think in school, we're taught you can't make any mistakes. You've got to do everything on your own. If you don't, it's called cheating. If you collab, if you're getting help from other people,
right.
But in the business world, in life, and in just, in fitness and every sort of level, it's collaboration. It's, I don't know if I help someone else, it's not a scarcity mindset that they might take my business or my investors or my goals or whatever. It's we can actually, we can get better together, and maybe we'll do a deal together. Maybe we'll train together. Maybe we'll do some project together. And so it's amazing how, if I let people in and I look at, it with an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, things can change a lot.
So how did you take that leap from being in a really successful job, making a ton of money, and leaving that? How was that process for you? Because I think a lot of people are in this position where they're in jobs that maybe aren't speaking to them. And I'm not saying we have to have this dream job. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but knowing that there's more and leaning into the unknown and making that decision to take the jump. I'd love to hear your process.
Yeah. So it was hard. It was really hard. I had a job I was making, 200 to 250 a year. I was working 20 to 30 hours a week. And I remember going to my family or my friends saying, hey, I really want to leave my job because I've always wanted to be entrepreneurial. And I've got this side hustle that now is working really well. And I'm making money on, I'm covering my living expenses. My whole family and all my friends were like, you're absolutely crazy. Why would you ever leave your job? You've got this great job. And then what I had done is I had joined an entrepreneurs group. There's an entrepreneurs group I'm a part of, and you had to pay to be a part of it. You have to have a business of a certain size. And I went around this group of six people. We met together every month. And I basically asked them, I said, hey, I really want to leave my job, but I just don't, should I? I'm not sure, whatever. And I shared my story with them, and they, like, without exception, every single one was like, you should leave your job pretty much as soon as possible. And I remember, and they were like, it could fail, but like, you'll never know. You could always go back to medical sales if it doesn't work out. And so, but it is really hard because this employee versus entrepreneur mindset, they fight against each other. As an employee, you can't make any mistakes so you get fired, right? As an entrepreneur, you have to make a lot of mistakes and be willing to make a lot of mistakes and then quickly learn. And I know, you've done it as well. I watched you're doing billboards, you're doing all kinds of stuff, and you're having a lot of success in your business because you've been willing to try a lot of things as well. What about, I'd love to know from you, Kate, like how have you gotten over that? Because I know you haven't always been, I don't think you've always been an entrepreneur. Have you always been an entrepreneur, or how did you make that transition?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think you're exactly right that if I was put in a situation like, obviously I worked I was in real estate. That's the way I paid my way through college, managing real estate. So I guess I've never been afraid of failure, because what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, I remember I used to do like runway shows because I was like, I was the right size for like shoe modeling. And so I would do runway shows. And like one time they gave us all these props, and I came up the stairs and I tripped, and I'm like this, and I go, oh, well. And I just made like a funny expression. And it was like, they're kind of boring, Bronson, but everyone burst out laughing. Right? Because I can make light of situations. And I know that, like, if I can be courageous enough to be transparent and show joy, even in dark places, right? Because that's ultimately what I do as a coach. It's what I did as an actress. It's what I do as a mom, right? And it's even how I dealt with the loss of my son, is because I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to roll in it. And then I'm going to show people that there's a way. There's light. We can move into the light, even through some places where people think I can't get up. And I'm here to help people get up and lead people forward. It's not a small mission. And I'm so good with it, Bronson, because it's just fun. It's like the unknown is fun to me. And I know that's nuts, and I know that's unusual, but I am unusual. And I finally accepted that fact that I am unusual.
I think, and I think what's happened for you, Kate, as well, is you've really stepped into, you've really developed who you are. You've developed this passion. And like you said, being different and being the one who's changing a situation and making light and everything. And I think we're so taught that, we can't make mistakes. And if I make a mistake, then I am the mistake. Versus, I just look at it now as like, everything is information. If I got up and I do something stupid, whatever, I was like, well, then you got to laugh it off. Right. And then you're like, you think, okay, what can I learn from that? Right. And so hopefully the mistakes aren't like, career ending, or, but most things in our head, they're huge, but most people really don't care. A lot of people, you see people, I know there's certain actors, I was, a couple child actors that I know of that like kind of ruin their life or whatever, because they kind of got into this. I think they just got into their head, and they couldn't work out of that place, or people made fun of them or whatever. They couldn't move on and do something different. And I think it's just on our own, we have to be willing to fail. We've got to be willing to not look at it like a failure, but looking at it like information, and it's a learning experience. And if it didn't work, okay, well, let's try something different. It's just everything's troubleshoot. And I think Thomas Edison, when he tried over 3,000 times to make the light bulb, unsuccessfully, he said, "Oh, we failed 3,000 times." He says, "No, I've successfully learned 3,000 ways how not to make electricity." Right. I love that, right? Like, you just did it.
There's such a thing as like pragmatic optimism. It's not like I think that I often thought that people thought I was Pollyanna. Like, I felt judged because I was enthusiastic. But when I'm a wordy, when I looked at what enthusiastic means, it means in God. Enthusiasm it's God, right? So it's in the divine, in the light. So, okay, and that's bad. Why? What I mean?
No, yeah.
So, it's just an interesting take. And also just knowing that, as you mentioned earlier, it is so much on who you surround yourself with and being selective. And if people are offended, it just really isn't anything to do with you. If you're coming from a place of like, I'm here to add value. And that's the discernment. I mean, we talk about spiritual discernment. We talk about, intellectual or emotional discernment. Discernment's a powerful word. And I think that has been really, for me, a pivotal place of wisdom.
Yeah, I think you mentioned too, as far as just getting around people that see you for who you are and can really encourage and you seeing yourself the way you are. And I think, both you and I have paid for expensive masterminds to be in the room with people that are amazing people that look at us and say, I appreciate you, not like, well, get out of here. So I think it's like, I think that's one of the number one things of transformation is you have to change who you're around. You can't be around all the same people you've been around with for the last 20 years and expect that you're going to lose 30 pounds if they're all eating, I don't know, deep fried everything. Like you can't, you have to get around the right people. And I think that's
100%.
one of the biggest things that I see to lead to transformation in your life.
And I think that also that people have to understand that there's a price to pay, and the price isn't just monetary, it's a risk. Obviously it costs money to thrive and grow and become magnificent in this world. It costs cash, and it costs time, and it costs experience, and there is a risk. And the risk is you just don't know, but it's better than this.
That's true.
So that
like
makes
a commercial. That'd be like a commercial. It's better than this.
That's all we know is it's better than this. I'm out.
Peace out.
Right. So I would love you to share where people can find you, Bronson. I'm excited about downloading because you were so humble about how to use inflation to your advantage. I'm really excited about that. But talk a little bit more about where people can play with you and support you. And also, I would really appreciate if you would stay in touch with me in regards to your commitment, your heartfelt commitment to end human slavery. That is a huge, heartfelt experience for me as well. So I would love you to share any resources and obviously your journey there as we move forward.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I'll start with the deep why stuff first, but yeah, there's an organization. Actually, my sister started, and it really kind of got me really fired up about it. But it's called Dressember. It's like the word dress and like December together is a Dressember, and it's women wear dresses or guys wear bow ties or ties for the month of December and post it on social media. And they raised over $15 million for fighting human trafficking. So it's awesome. You go to dressember.org to check that out. And then, I love to connect with people individually. We're doing deals. People are trying to figure out how to solve inflation. We do our apartment deals, which we feel like is an amazing hedge. You get to use debt at below the rate of inflation and pay it off with future dollars that are worth less. So that's a huge strategy that's in here. And we've got some other strategies as well. But again, how to use inflation to your advantage. It's at my website, bronsonequity.com. And you can also join our investment club. But I love connecting with people, about human trafficking, about investing, about personal development. And so I look forward to connecting with some of your listeners. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Kate, for having me today.
Yes. And I love your library of books, because half the time when you're talking, I'm writing down the book that you're mentioning. And I'm like, wait a minute, tell me what that is. But yeah, I appreciate you. And I just want to honor you and in your curiosity and your also your pursuit of excellence and adding value. And just for the viewers and listeners, just as an aside, I am part of Bronson's deals because he's a good person. And I like to build relationships with people who are actually people of integrity and people who are committed to really listening and adding value to all of us. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you, Kate, for what you do. I mean, every time I talk with you, I walk away feeling so encouraged and so built up and so alive. So I appreciate that all you add to the world. I just see you're really, you're everywhere, and I love that you're getting your message everywhere. And I think it's just very apparent you have a super strong why. So thanks for bringing that, not just for me, but for everyone else that's listening and watching what you're doing.
Thank you, Bronson. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners. I'm Kate McKay, and I appreciate you joining us for Master Your Life. And as Bronson's really wonderful mentor says, I see you doing great things. We see you doing great things, and we're here to support you on your journey. So have an incredible day, and until next time, make today amazing.
Looking for an inspirational speaker at your next event? Please reach out to us at kate-mckay.com and to book Kate at your next event.